Okay, here is a video discussing some strategies for the ST Math section. I'm going to jump to Module 2, and when I see a question that makes sense to use Desmos, I'm going to show you that. So this is a great example to use Desmos. Here you got two equations. So if I go to Desmos, and type in those equations, x plus y equals 125, x plus y, or you could put 2y, doesn't really matter, equals 155. You want to see where they touch. And they're asking for the y coordinate, so I'm going to give 30 as my answer. So that's a good opportunity to use Desmos. Um, Talk more about strategy. So here you can graph if you're doing circles. So if you don't know the equation of a circle or how it's supposed to work, you could just punch that in. So if I go x plus 5 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 25, you can see that the diameter is going to be 10, so the radius is 5. Now going back to the question, circle B has the same center circle A. Okay, fine. The radius is 2 times. So now the radius is going to be 10. So what is the value of K? So what you could do is type in that equation. Now, if you know the concept, then I think you would suspect that K is going to be 100 because you have to square it as part of the formula. If you don't know the formula, that's okay. And you just keep sliding it until you get what you want. And you see when I slide to 100, the diameter is 20, which is twice as much as the previous diameter, or twice as much as the radius, because that would be a radius of 10 then, where the previous radius was 5. So then, therefore, K has to be 100. So again, that's another opportunity to use Desmos. Um, Another great opportunity, solving just a simple equation here. So x squared plus 7x plus 5. So if I do that, y equals x squared plus 7x plus 5. So these are my x-intercepts. Now, they do say that one of the solutions can be written as -7 plus root k. That comes from quad form, essentially, if you think about it, because plus or minus. So I'm going to go with the positive value. So I'll say negative 0.80742. I'm going to go the higher value, not the positive value. Go to the higher value equals, and how is it written again? -7 plus, oh, that's something else. Um, well, let me close that. Let me close. Okay, good. -7 plus root k over 2. And then you can just solve for k. But what you could also do is, again, use Desmos, where you can graph y equals negative 0.80742, and then graph y equals -7. And we'll use x at a k. And I'll turn off the first graph. You want to see where they touch. So you keep sliding. Looks like they touch somewhere over here. That's pretty close to 29. So that's going to be 29 for that answer. And again, it's just quad form, but you can just use Desmos to help you with that. Another opportunity where we use some strategy or Desmos. Was a strategy, I would say, more so than anything else. Let me clear the screen. So they say that this equation passes through the point 0, comma 22. So, sometimes you just want to plug in numbers. So 22 equals 0 minus A over 0 minus B. So you get A over B equals 22, or A equals 22B. Then you're also told that when you plug in negative 22, you get 0 for Y. I believe that's 484 when you square it, minus negative 22 minus A. And here's the thing. Because the fraction equals 0, we don't have to worry about the bottom. Because if you multiply the bottom to the other side, you're going to get 0 anyway. So I'm getting this. So A equals 506. Then you could substitute and solve for B. So this is where, again, I think sometimes doing the algebra makes more sense. I'm not sure how Desmos would have helped us in that one, but you have an opportunity to plug in, and that's what I do there. Moving right along. Drawing diagrams. I think that's another good one I want to talk about. And process of elimination. Especially when you see a phrase which of the following. That's usually going to be a process of elimination. So they say they have two lines that intersect, and one of the angles 9x minus 140. So I would expect this also to be 9x minus 140 because it's right across. And this is where I'm going to plug a number for x. I'm going to be hypothetical. Let's plug a number for x. Of course, plugging a number is reasonable. Like, don't plug in 1 because then you have a negative angle. Don't plug in 10 because you can have 90 minus 140. It's negative 50. That doesn't make sense. But maybe 20, let's say. So this would be 180 minus 140, which of course is 40. And that's also 40. Therefore, that's 140 and that's 140. So you have 40, 40, 140, 140. Cool. So I'm being hypothetical. That's okay. Two acute angles, two obtuse angles. That's exactly what I got. Now, which of the following cannot be the sum of any of these two angles? Well, obviously, 2 could have to 180. If you do 140 and 40, that's out. They could have to 80, 40 plus 40. Well, if I plug in 20 here, get 360 minus 280. Yeah, that's with 80, so that's out. If I look at B, if I add 140, 140, it's 280. So that's negative 360 plus 640, which is 280. But this one's not gonna be okay because you get negative 360 plus 280, which is negative 80. And that's not some of any of our two angles. So we use process of elimination as well as substitution. So that's strategy again. Again, another opportunity is Desmos. You could just graph this and graph this. And they want to have at least one solution. So if they touch once or they overlap, meaning they have infinitely many solutions, you could do that and then do that with the other equation here, the original with the second one, and see what happens there. And I think both of them do provide that. If you look at the solution key, it asks you to do all this work here. That's kind of crazy. I just plug these into Desmos and see what happens. And last thing we'll talk about is this one here with percentages. They say that A is 460% of B. So let's say A equals 4.68 times B. And let's say B is 100. So A is 468. And remember, B is 100. Then A, which is 468, is 0.78%. So that's 0.78 divided by 100, because I always do percentages over 100, times C. If you solve for C, you will get 60 thousandths. Use a calculator to do that, mind you. I've done this problem many times. And then they say C, which is 60 thousandths, is P percent, so P over 100. B would be is 100. Those cancel, and P's will be 60 thousandths. And by the way, if you chose different numbers, like a higher number for B, A gets higher, or a lower number for B, A gets lower. It's all relative. It's all percentages, all ratios. So you get 60,000 for that one. So those are some really helpful videos. Check them out. Sorry, these are some very helpful. Sorry, fumbling my words. Hopefully you found this video helpful and try using these strategies for the problems for your homework. And that's all. Okay, bye.